Ellis Island, the Golden Door. Stop 1. The arrival. New arrivals were taken by ferry to the main building at Ellis Island, opened in 1892. The first immigrant to arrive was a 15-year-old girl from Ireland named Annie Moore to join her parents in New York City. Not everyone arriving in New York had to go to Ellis Island. Immigrants in first and second class were processed aboard their ships soon after docking on the mainland. Onboard exams were shorter than those on the island, since inspectors were more accepting of anyone who could afford the higher fare. Most of the immigrants, however, who passed through Ellis Island were poor. They crammed by the thousands aboard steamships that took weeks to cross the Atlantic Ocean. Most spent all the money they had just to ride in third class, also called steerage. Stop 2 is baggage claim, where immigrants entered through the main building to the ground floor of the baggage room. They left their trunks, suitcases, and baskets here until they were finished. Immigrants with only a few belongings carried their things as they climbed the stairs to the Great Hall for medical and legal examinations. Stop 3 was the stairway to the Great Hall. The first test the immigrants had to pass became known as the 6-second medical exam. As the immigrants climbed the stairs to the Great Hall, doctors stood at the top and watched. They were looking for anyone having difficulty coming up the steps. If a medical problem or disability was suspected, one of 17 different chalk marks was put on a person's clothing. They were then sent for a full physical examination. If they weren't marked, they went on to wait in the Great Hall. Stop 4 is a medical exam. By 1917, complete medical exams were required for every immigrant. The main purpose of these exams was to find contagious diseases or conditions that would make them unable to work. If the problem was curable, immigrants were sent to the island's hospital. If it was not, the steamship company that brought them would have to pay to send them back. The dreaded eye man was the name the immigrants gave to the doctor who inspected them for trachoma, a highly contagious disease that caused blindness. Using a hook tool or his fingers, he would pinch the person's eyelid, turn it over, and look for any signs of the disease. Stop 5 was the Great Hall. The Great Hall was the large waiting room of Ellis Island. Immigrants waited here for their interviews with legal inspectors after finishing their medical exams. At best, the entire process through Ellis Island took 3 to 5 hours. But sometimes problems came up, like family members waiting for a relative to be treated in the hospital ward. Some families stayed for days on Ellis Island, others for weeks, and still others for months. After World War I, beds replaced bunks in the overcrowded dormitories, but men and women still slept in separate dormitories until their individual family bedrooms were added in the late 1920s. Stop 6 was the legal inspection. After passing the medical exams, immigrants had to prove they could legally come into America. They had to prove their country of origin and where they were expected to live and work once they entered the countries. Inspectors rejected any immigrant with a criminal record or those suspected of being indentured servants. Stop 7 was the money exchange. In the money exchange area, immigrants exchanged money from their homeland for dollars and purchased any train tickets they needed. Laws passed in 1909 required that each immigrant have at least $20 before they were allowed to enter America. Stop 8 was the journey's end. Just beyond the money exchange was the exit from Ellis Island. Staff members referred to this spot as the kissing post because of all the emotional reunions that were witnessed there. 2/3 of the new Americans then boarded a ferry to New Jersey, where the next leg of their American journey would begin. The remaining third took the ferry boat to Manhattan to begin their life in the New York City, only 1 mile away.